Have you ever met a celebrity but acted like you didn't know them? I was working at this tiny coffee shop in Seattle when my dad got diagnosed with cancer. The treatment wasn't covered by insurance, and we needed $15,000 fast. I was working double shifts every day, barely sleeping, trying to save every penny. One rainy Tuesday morning, this guy walks in wearing a baseball cap pulled low and orders a simple black coffee. Something about his voice seemed familiar, but I was so exhausted I didn't think much of it. He sat in the corner booth for 3 hours, just writing in a notebook and drinking refills. What I didn't know was that my manager had been watching me struggle for weeks. She'd seen me counting tips obsessively and noticed I'd started bringing peanut butter sandwiches instead of buying lunch. That morning, she'd called someone she knew in the entertainment industry, begging them to help somehow. When the guy came up for his fourth refill, I finally looked at him properly. It was John Krasinski. I'm a huge fan of The Office, but he looked like he really didn't want to be recognized. He seemed stressed, constantly checking his phone and rubbing his temples. I kept serving him like any other customer, even though my heart was racing. But then I noticed something weird. Every time I walked past his table, he'd glance at my name tag and write something down. I thought maybe he was just bored, but it felt deliberate. Around lunchtime, my phone rang. It was the hospital calling about my dad's next appointment. I had to step outside to take it, and through the window, I saw John watching me intently. When I came back and crying because they'd moved up his surgery date, he immediately looked away and pretended to be writing. That's when I realized something was off. My manager kept walking by his table, and they'd make brief eye contact like they knew each other. She'd never mentioned knowing any celebrities, and she'd been acting strange all morning. Then I overheard him on a phone call saying, "Sarah told me about the situation. Are you sure this is the right person?" Sarah was my manager's name. My stomach dropped as I realized they'd been talking about me. I confronted Sarah during my break. She broke down and admitted she'd reached out to her college friend who worked in Hollywood, desperate to help me. She'd explained my situation, and somehow word got to John, who'd driven 2 hours from his film set just to meet me. But here's the thing that made me feel terrible. He wasn't there to help me at all. He was there because his own dad was dying, and he'd heard about my story while dealing with his own family crisis. He'd come to the coffee shop because Sarah told him I was someone who understood what he was going through. When he got that emotional phone call, it wasn't about work stress. His dad had just taken a turn for the worse, and John was supposed to be filming a crucial scene. He'd abandoned his entire production to sit in a random coffee shop, trying to figure out how to say goodbye to his father. The weird part was, while I was serving him and pretending not to know who he was doing the exact same thing to me. Sarah had shown him my picture and told him my whole story. He knew exactly who I was from the moment he walked in. We'd both been acting like strangers while secretly knowing everything about each other's lives. Two people dealing with dying fathers, pretending to be normal customers and employees while our worlds were falling apart. When he finally got up to leave, he left a $20 for a $12 bill. But as I was cleaning his table, I found his notebook. He'd forgotten it. I was about to chase after him when I saw what was written on the open page. It was a letter to his dad, who had apparently just passed away that morning. He wrote about feeling guilty for being on set instead of home, and how he wished he could have said goodbye properly. I ran outside and found him sitting in his car, head in his hands. I knocked on his window and handed him the notebook. When he looked up with tears in his eyes, I just said, "I'm sorry for your loss. My dad's fighting cancer too." He rolled down his window and we talked for 20 minutes about our dads. Before he left, he handed me an envelope and said, "Use this for your father's treatment. Nobody should have to choose between work and family." Inside was a check for $15,000.